Hey people, what's going on? I'm The Broken Puppet, and today we're talking about digital versus traditional and which one is king. So yeah, people, digital versus traditional, which one is better and why? Why do digital artists hate traditional artists? Why do traditional artists hate digital artists? You know, what is the rivalry? Why does it stick around? Which one is better? Which one is worse? What are they good for? What are they not good for? We're going to talk about it all today, and we're going to start off with traditional. So traditional people, the pencil, the original, the first, okay? Now the reason why I love traditional, I'm gonna talk about the pros first, and the reason why I love it is because everyone has access to it pretty much. Okay, all it takes is a pencil and a bit of paper and boom, you can be off and you can be drawing anything you want. Okay, it's very easy accessible, anyone can get it, it's not too expensive to start with, it's very simple. Like I said, pencil, paper, anyone has access to it. Another one is history. Traditional art has a massive history to it. That digital art just hasn't got yet. It'll get there eventually, but it just hasn't got that yet. A lot of the greatest people in the world in history have been, artists. They've sort of done great things. Da Vinci, all these sort of people, they're really people that everyone knows. And the reason why, because art is in tune to all of us, and digital art has been the medium which has led to that. Now this one, a lot of people might sort of deem as like a massive sort of thing, but I think it's very important. That's drawing on pencil and paper is very relaxing. Any kind of traditional art, sitting there, the patience, sometimes you can sit there doing it and you kind of go into trance and like hours go past, and next thing you know, you draw an amazing picture and it feels like you've been sitting there for 10 minutes. It's very therapeutic. It really helps. I think it's really calming, and I think that's a major positive of it. It's almost like therapy in itself. So as good as it is, what is wrong with these things? Why do digital artists not like these? What is wrong with traditional? Okay, so I'm going to start with this. It can be very time consuming. Now, a lot of people already realize this now, but to do good art, you cannot rush it, especially when doing, traditional. You cannot rush traditional art. It takes a lot of time, especially when you start going on stuff like oil painting and other stuff like that. It can take a hell of a lot of time. I've had paintings that have taken me 100+ hours. It takes a lot of patience, and it can be very frustrating. Storage, okay? Digital art takes up a lot of space, especially if you're doing it very actively and very often. You think about it, once you sort of start getting your equipment, start getting used to it, you start getting more paints, markers, pencils, charcoal, pastels, all this other stuff, digital stuff, clay, canvases. You can fill up an entire room with your art equipment in a heartbeat if you're not careful about it. It takes up a lot of space, and it's very hard to sort of store that. There is a very long learning curve for a lot of this. There's no way rushing. I've said it before. It's a very slow process. When you first start out and you see these people doing amazing work, it's going to take a lot of time to get there. There's no way around it. It takes a lot of time to learn. Right, and this one is relevance. As time's going on, as digital art is picking up, traditional art has become a little bit more irrelevant in certain situations. Not all. I still think it has just as much value in most situations, but quite a few sort of situations, it's not quite as valuable. You think about it in design, in technology and stuff like this, sort of like, science, computers, animation, stuff like this. Slowly digital art has crept up in that because it's much quicker to use. Digital art has come a little bit too slow in that process. Traditional art has kind of stepped back because of the time it takes. It's not as relevant as it once was, which is a shame. That's the pros and cons of traditional. So here's my pros and cons of digital. Going to start with the pros again. Now these things are very fast, super fast in fact. If you're doing stuff on like Procreate and Photoshop, the stuff that would normally take you hours and hours to do traditionally, you can have done in no time. In like a tenth of the time sometimes. I can whip up a picture on Procreate in like 5 times quicker than what I can on traditional paper. It's so much faster. Everything is also readily accessible. You think about it, you have every sort of thing you need there. You can have pencils, markers, paints, airbrush, all the tools you need in a click of a button. There's no changing it, there's no messing around, there's no messiness. It's right there, ready available to use, in a heartbeat. It's all there. Experimentation. In my opinion, digital art has this one by far. Okay, and what I mean by this, it's not that you can't experiment traditionally. You always have to worry with traditional art that you're going to mess it up, that you're going to do something wrong. If you're sort of doing a picture and you think, oh, this looks really nice, I'll put this little color over there, and you're kind of like, oh, I'm not going to put it there because I might ruin it. It's going to be a mistake if I do it by accident. Okay, but as with digital art, you can do it, and if it's wrong, 2-finger tap on Procreate, you go straight back. You can erase your mistakes in a heartbeat. You can do it on a different layer and it's gone in a second. It makes a difference. And because of this, you end up doing a lot of stuff you wouldn't normally do. You learn out new colors, new techniques, a lot of new stuff that you just wouldn't do on paper. And it really helps. It's just stuff you wouldn't do that, and you can then translate that afterwards. But it's stuff that's really hard to sort of learn and experiment when you haven't got the digital means to do so. And the next one is space. My God, space. it takes up such little space. You know, like I said, traditional takes up so much, especially when you start doing bigger stuff like canvases. It takes up the whole room. Digital doesn't do that. You just got your tablet. You got your tablet or your computer, and that's it. You can take it anywhere. It takes up so little space. You know, this thing has got thousands of pictures on. You know, could you imagine trying to store thousands of pictures, thousands of paintings? Imagine the space it takes. It's all here in this one little thing. The next one is convenience. Convenience is very, very convenient, especially when you start using your iPad like Procreate and stuff. Because you can take it absolutely anywhere with you. You can bung it in your bag. You can draw on a bus with it, on a train with it. You know, you ain't got to worry about the sketch pad this way and that way. You have every bit of equipment to draw anywhere you want in the world. You know, it's very, very easy, accessible to use that way. It's super, super handy. So that's some things that are good about it. Some things now that are not so good. Now, the easy use. I know this sounds like a positive, but in my opinion, it can be a very big negative at times for a lot of people. And that's because digital art can be very easy to use, very easy to create stuff and that. It can be really sort of daunting that when you realize, you know, what you're doing on there, you can't necessarily do it on paper. You know, it's really hard. And when you can draw like a perfect picture on like, you know, on Procreate, you know, perfectly smooth picture, perfect line work, perfect shading, perfectly smooth, and you get a bit of paper out now, and a lot of time you feel like you absolutely suck because you can't seem to do it on there. You know, it's really hard sometimes, especially if you started learning digital and you haven't really learned traditional beforehand. It's very hard to get to. So yeah, sometimes the ease of use can be really frustrating for people. Now this one I've put as a con, but it can also be a pro as well. Okay, and that's the price tag. These things can be really expensive to begin with. You know, for a decent tablet, for a decent computer, you can look anywhere between £500 up to a couple of £1,000 sometimes. You know, it's a big investment to initially start off with. But here's the thing, if you're someone like me and you're doing it very actively, like I draw hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures all the time, every single day. Now, if you're doing this regularly, you know, you got to think, in the long run, it's actually saving you money. The amount of money I would spend on paints, on pencils, on markers, on paper, on canvases, you know, in the long run, it ends up a lot more than this. You know, like I said, I've got thousands of pictures on there. If I was to do thousands of pictures on paper, it would cost me a lot more than that, probably. You know, so yeah, it's for most people, it's a bit. I put in the con because for most people, it's a definite struggle trying to find sort of like that extra bit of money to buy it initially. You know, but yeah, it's pretty pricey. Now, my opinion, the battle. What makes one better than the other one? What is the main things that make them better? Okay. Now, when it comes to digital, I think the convenience is the main thing. Okay. Now, especially in today's world, it's so much faster. It's much more proactive to use. You know, it's very simple. You know, once you get the hang of it, you know, it's got a bit of learning curve just to begin with, but the learning curve is much quicker than it is with traditional. You know, it's just very, very convenient. You can pick up the pad. You can use it any way you want. You know, you can send stuff, take stuff back. In today's world, it's much more convenient. It's much more useful in today's world. Right, now traditional. I feel that the learning for traditional is much more universal. And what I mean by this is that when you learn to do something traditionally on paper with pens, markers, whatever you want to use, paints, you can translate that onto other stuff. You know, it's very easy to translate. What you've learned traditionally to digital, to other formats, it's very easy to kind of make that switch into it. You know, the learning curve is much easier into that format. But going the other way around, it's not as easy. Now, if you're a digital artist, you picked up digital, and most of your learning has been digitally, it's very hard then to take that digital stuff and then put it into the traditional base. It's very hard. You know, the ease of access and stuff, like I said, like, you know, certain tools like airbrushing tools, you can sort of wipe in a smooth transition in a heartbeat on digital. You can't do that on paper, and it's very hard to sort of learn that as well. If you learn how to do that traditionally, you can very easily apply that to other stuff. You know, the learning is much, much more universal. Now, this one is very fun for both, but I feel like traditional has a slight little bit of an edge on this one, and that's the reward. Okay, and what I mean by that, and that's when you finally do a piece, and that's how you kind of feel afterwards. You know, when you sort of do like a digital piece, you can make it look amazing. It's very nice, you know, it's a very good feeling when you finish a piece. You're like, oh yeah, that's a really good piece. I'm really good. I've done that and that. But when you're doing something traditionally, you know, it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and it's very difficult to do in that. And once you actually manage to do it, the reward afterwards, I find is a lot more rewarding. I don't know what I want to put it really. Yeah, it's much more rewarding when you sort of do something traditional, like we take a lot of patience, a lot of time, and you finally get that. You know, it's like sort of winning a race. You know, it's like, you know, having a sort of sprint, like, you know, sort of 100 foot, and then winning a race that you sort of been running for like, you know, miles and miles and miles. You know, it's a lot more rewarding. You know, both are equally just as good. You can go get really good results, but yeah, you're going to feel a lot better when you get something really done well traditionally than you will versus digital. Now, this one by far, digital has this one in the bag, and that's shareability. Okay, now if you're doing something on paper, say pencils, markers, whatever you want to use, you know, it's sometimes very hard to sort of share that with the world. You know, especially if you haven't got a good camera or you haven't got lighting. You know, what you do on paper, it's very hard sometimes to get a picture that's like, you know, really does it justice. You know, it's not easy to do. As where digital, you know, digital, like the way it looks on the screen, you can share to people and it looks the exact same. And you can do it in a click of a button. There's no sort of having to take photographs, no doing this. You know, if it's a project with someone, you can send in a heartbeat. You know, there's no having to worry about it. and it comes up exactly how you do. You know, so like problem with the traditional, like sometimes what you do traditionally won't look the same in a photograph. You know, it's really hard to get a photograph that does it justice. So shareability, like digital art has it in the bag by miles. Now the verdict, which one is king? Which one is the best? Traditional, digital, which one is superior? And now my answer for this is simply a hybrid, okay? And I'm going to explain this. Don't sort of think it's a cop-out, okay? Understand this, you know, my reason behind this and why the best artist is someone who can do both, okay? Because it involves a few key points I've said about both, because you're basically mixing pros and cons of either one. Right, and now digital art, like I said, experimentation. You're going to do stuff on digital that you're never going to do on paper because you're worried about messing things up. There's a lot of experimentation you can easily do in a heartbeat. You can easily go back in a second if you make mistakes. Like I said, you're going to use different colors you never used before because you can just two-tap and go back in a heartbeat, okay? Now, once you sort of learn this digitally, and when you can apply this thought process to a traditional artist, you know, once you sort of take away those fears, worries, and concerns, because of the habits of a digital artist, and you put it there, you're going to end up creating a much, much better traditional artist that you just wouldn't do normally without that digital influence. That digital influence makes that artist, it makes that one better. You know, vice versa, you know, they pass it on to each other. Now, if you can do both, like I said, you end up being the better artist. You know, there's no two ways about it. You know, if you sort of learn digital and traditional, the pros and cons from either one, you end up wearing each other out, you end up losing a lot of the cons, and you take the pros from both of them and apply it to one, and you become a much better artist in the end. So yeah, the best version of a digital traditional artist is both combined. So yeah, there you have it, people. I hope that's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it. You know, if there's one you feel is better than the other one, comment below, let me know why. You know, I'd love to know what you guys think. You know, if you guys feel like one is more superior than the other one, you know, let me know. You know, this is a debate. You know, my answer isn't solid. You know, everyone else has got opinions. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. And if there's any video similar to this one you want to see, if there's anything you want my opinion on, you know, again, comment below and let me know. And if this is your first time being here as well, don't forget, subscribe. Click the little bell button next to, you know, the subscribe button and get notified about more videos. You know, because I have videos like this coming out all the time, okay? There's other tutorials, there's other tips, there's other stuff like this all the time, okay? Yeah, so for now, people, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I am Broken Puppet, and I'll see you next time. Peace.